Guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the show. My name's Chris. No one's fired me yet. We're still here 5 years in or five seasons in. I always get confused about years and time frames and so on and so forth. I know this is my fifth season and no one's fired me. So we're still here. We're still here. I haven't been censored yet.
I'm doing it. I'm censoring you.
You're censoring me.
That's it. I'm doing it.
We stand with Joe Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
And today, well, let's back up before I actually introduce the guest that I have for you today. This show has been being planned for, I don't know, about 2 months, maybe 3 months or so. Like I said, I get a little hazy on time frames, but I think it's in that 60 to 90 day period. And I happened to meet someone at a dinner last year in person. And I was really upset that I didn't get to spend more time with her one-on-one and speak to her directly at the dinner of approximately 12 people or 15 people, whatever it was. So I reached out to her afterwards, considering she organized the dinner and the event. And I said, I really want to speak to you more in depth of who you are, what you do. I think we're aligned. Also, I see you have a podcast. I also have a podcast. Why don't we swap shows, talk to each other's audiences, and explain who we are? So what has happened is we are here today, and Allison Lager of 30 years of entrepreneurial journey has joined us on the show today to tell us many things. Keep in mind, she's been in business twice as long as I have. So I'm at that decade and a half mark. She's at 3 decades of entrepreneurship. So the wealth of experience, fundamentally, and knowledge of running her counseling services on Long Island, which I call Strong Island. And let me just say, before I turn it over to her, she is one of the few reasons I will leave Connecticut to go to Long Island and drive on the fucking expressway. It is like death for car guys like me who want to go fast and not hit potholes that look like bulldozers put into the freaking interstate. Allison, thank you so much for being here. Actually, mostly thank you for being my friend, and thank you for connecting with me fundamentally. I think that's what's most important, and building relationships is more important than anything else in life and in business. And thank you for coming on the CW Clinic. Did I introduce you correctly?
You did. And it doesn't matter. You introduced me as your friend, and that's what matters, right? And we're on the same, very similar mission, same path. I believe that both of us really, really, really want to change the world. I mean, my mission is mission awake. I want to share with as many people as I can how to create a life that they dream of, because I know we can. We have a power inside of us that is so fundamental to who we are. And really, just like on the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy with her little red shoes, I want those shoes. That basically, you've had it within you all along. And
those are Louboutins.
They are, right? So that's what we'll do.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
We'll get them. No, do that. Because that's a good way to interrupt. So anyhow, so basically, so I'm going to do that. Yeah. But anyhow, so back to, I think what I really just want to get across, and this is what I feel like God or source or the universe has kind of infused in me lately. And what it actually over the last couple of years is that I have all this education, 8 years of academia and like studying every single book, all different courses, just blah, 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 right? All of this knowledge, which to me is not, I'm not saying it to brag. What I'm saying is that as a therapist, because I was a therapist in a private practice to begin with, and and it just kept growing, my business. And then I just started hiring people. But back to what I was saying, the main mission that I'm on is that I feel like God has shown me that it was time for me to reveal my true education. And my true education has been the pain and the despair and different experiences throughout my life that I have through mistakes and struggling and climbing my way out of those things. That is the way in which it's like refining fire, that creates this gold, right? So I feel like it just kept throughout my life. Since I'm young, I was neglected, I was sexually abused, I had an eating disorder, I was hospitalized. I also, these are a lot of things you don't know. And I hate to be like boo-hoo, like victim me, because that's not what I'm doing right now.
I don't see that right now at all.
Yeah, it's my strength. And basically the book that I just wrote was the introduction to this part of me that I never share, because most people know, like, as a therapist, we're supposed to be fully present for the other person. And really, all people would really know, and I'm very authentic, but all people would really know in this selfless way I was being was my education and this insight and how I was able to like massively help them and change their lives. But no one has ever known how I learned that. And, I have these stories, I had terrible boyfriends, just like I was in a murder trial. It almost sounds like I'm making it up. No, seriously, I'm not even kidding. I was a major key witness in a murder trial. I have to laugh because it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was funny at this point, right?
It's funny now. That's what I tell my kids. I'm like, you're going to laugh about this. I promise. Later. It's just now. So it's part of your story. But anyhow, it culminated, and all this time I'm going to college and I'm getting a 4.0 and I believe in God and I'm trying to do the right thing, but I'm like this people pleaser chick, who basically, just to back up, when you're young and you're neglected, there's no one in charge. So the value of that, of no one being in charge, it taught me how to be in charge. And through like learning through error, like, how to be resilient, how to create good relationships, and so I've taken things that were distorted in me, because I think that's what happens. I always tell people, like, let's say they're super codependent and they're people pleasing and they can't say no and all this stuff. That right there is just the other side of the coin, the distortion in your compassion and your love for people. You just don't know how. You're just doing it in a distorted way, right?
Allocating it in maybe a not ideal way is a good way of saying it.
Yeah, it's kind of like just it being in survival instead of being in your greatness. So I am going to get into the entrepreneurial part of it, because that's really important. I think only to the degree that we personally develop or grow or struggle through things is to the degree that we can grow our business, our relationships, every area of our life. And it's the same thing with my business. Throughout the years of my business, the times of despair, like, oh my God, how did I do that? Oh my God, this is these mistakes, hiring the wrong people, just doing so many things. But every single time a system is born. And like, if you have that mindset that you're going to take, my brother says, Allison, you take chicken shit and you turn it into chicken salad. And I'm like, that's it. Like, so to me, one of the things that I revealed in my book was that when I was in my early 20s, I had a fiance who committed suicide and I found him dead. So now I'm saying this in a very light manner, but, so that was such a huge, unbelievable struggle for me as a human being. And I wrote this in the book. I went away to finish the edit on this book, right? Because I had my last edit I think I might have told you this.
Oh, you told me this.
Am I going too far?
No.
Am I talking too much?
No, I think I was going to bring this up at one point or another anyway. So
You were?
yeah,
Okay.
you were you at a convention?
No, I went away by myself. I left my husband, my kids, my businesses, everything. And I went to Mohonk Mountain House, which is so beautiful. And I was there. I worked from 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. every day. And I was on this high, and I was laying on this massage table. And I really felt like this, in your book, you talk about, signs or the things showing up. And that happens throughout my whole life. When you're neglected, God shows up. I'm telling you, you just got to see him. So basically,
you got to be open to it.
100%. Yes. 100%. I always believed in God since I'm little.
Yeah.
Very weird. But anyhow, so, I would walk to church when I was 7 years old by myself. What do you think of that? But anyhow,
I think that's dedication.
It was. But see, I'm going off. So basically what happened was I just felt this presence. Like, I don't know what exactly it was, but the message was clear. And it was that I've hidden my talent for too long, and that it is no longer fair to not share with others your true education, and for people to know the real way out of really dark places. So I knew then that I had to add all these stories into my book, which I did. And then when I finished writing, be quick, at the very end of doing all this, it was all lost. The computer crashed, and that was it. Right? Unbelievable, right? So then I'm like victim, then not victim, like, oh, why does this happen to me? So I'll tell you, this is the important part, is that I have learned, and what the book is about is that we are automated, right? So we're automated to be, to live the life that's been handed to us, through all antiquated systems, through our parents, whatever their dysfunction or whatever. And we end up following an automated path. So the book was about that. And what I discovered was that I had always had a belief system that you could get right up to the edge of success right there, right? But you are just not like other girls who get the dream thing, like the whatever, like this ultimate success. So you could get right there, you work your butt off, but then you're not going to get it. And I know a lot of people have core beliefs that they're not good enough, that they can't, all the caps that we put on,
limiting belief.
How far we go.
A limiting belief. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. So basically that was my limiting belief. Now, what had happened was then I came home, and then I couldn't get back on the horse. And then my husband committed suicide. So, right. Now listen, so I tell this story a little bit with a smile on my face, so I don't cry, just so you know. So it's I'm not smiling about it, but my point,
I understand,
is, yeah. So it's trying to so I rarely talk about it because it's hard to talk about. But oh shoot, I can't cry. So anyhow, I won't. But anyhow, so
whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah. So the point of it is that it's this return repeatedly to this core belief. You're this kind of, you can get that far, but you're not going to succeed completely, right? What like other people do. So what I am really here to tell people is that you have a whole host of stories and beliefs inside of you that if they're not rewritten, they're repeated. And it's just the way it is. And so for me, the way to success really for me, and I'm not saying this, so I don't want everybody to think that their life has to have all of these things. I feel honored, and I mean it, like deeply honored, to have been almost like chosen to go through a lot of hard things, because I think kind of God knew that for whatever he made in me, that I would just keep getting up, and whatever I learned, I would teach somebody else. So, and that when you have a vision and you see things, my favorite quote is, I lay hold of my vision, obstacles must give way. And I live my life like that. So when day 3 after my husband died, me and my kids, I had to find, I live in the solution, not the problem. And then you have to do that in entrepreneurship. It's the only way. It is the key, one of the keys. So basically, I see the problem. Okay, what's the solution? What's the gain? Where are we gonna gain here? And as long as you're looking at that, you will. So basically, I met with my kids and I said, okay, this is the plan. And the power move is the decision, because neurologically what happens in our brain, am I going too far?
No, you're going just as you should be going.
Okay, because I'm just going.
Go.
Okay, I'm going. So basically,
you're doing a great job.
The power move is the decision, I think. Because during the deciding process, there's these neuron clusters that are going on that are basically firing. So when you're in one decision, I'm going to make it really simple, that part of your brain is firing. And when that is firing, the other one is not. It's inhibited. So when you finally make a decision, that's the winner, that neuron cluster. And so when you fire your brain a certain way, it creates things. So then your brain is a goal-driven machine and it will take you there. So, that's why it's not really inflamed, but it feels like your brain is inflamed when you're trying to make a decision or you need a survival. You got to figure out, how am I going to get through this? So I decided, it was my power move decision, that we're going to gain more than we lost. That's it. No other option. I don't care if it takes me until I'm 90 years old. Every one of us is going to gain more than we lost. Because if you do that, we win. So we're going to take this hardship and we're going to walk through it when it's hard. We don't repress it. I look at it like you're walking on a path where a bomb just blew up. So this fire, the smoke, and you just rubble, and you got to keep walking. You don't stop there and stay there, because you're just screwed if you do. So you just got to keep going. Like, I'm sure you can imagine, like for you in war, that's how I see it. Because my husband was a vet, by the way, 21 years Navy vet. So if there's any vets out there, I love you. Thank you. But anyhow, so basically, and so I remember my son saying, and this is what we got to do, guys. When we have those moments of happiness, when we're laughing, let's fucking maximize it. And then when we're sad, you ride the wave, ride it. It's going to end. That you have those really like gut punching, horrible feelings, and you keep going. And basically, and so I have a book next to my bed and I write down all of my gains. What is it? The great things that I have. So I'm going off on that, but the big thing for me, and what I really want anyone who will listen to me, because I feel such a burden for this, that we are neurologically and biologically, we have an operating system. We have a body that most people are ignoring and not recognizing that we have power over. And we're not doing that. And we're not taught that. And I don't know why. And it upsets me that we have a society that we are not teaching parents and children and human beings. I'm sure the government knows this. I don't want to be like a conspiracy check, but they do. They freaking know this. And they want us dumb. Exactly. And 10%,
10% of your brain is your capacity.
Such bullshit.
Yeah. Okay.
Total bullshit.
No.
Yes. We have so much fucking power, and it is absolutely insane that we're not taught to use it. So that's why I'm here. I want people to know what?
It's programming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cog in the wheel, 9 to 5.
Yes.
Middle America.
Yes. Yes.
It's programming.
Yes. We're going to change that shit, Chris.
I could say so many things.
I know you're probably dying to talk. I'm sorry.
No,
I do that.
There's this, I learned a long time ago that you have two ears and one mouth. Listen more and
Mhm.
speak less. And yeah, there's a lot of things I want to say, but fundamentally, you know, on the topic of programming, and then I'm going to reel you back in. My neighbor is a disabled veteran and he's in a wheelchair. He
Wow.
was in the army. He broke his back like 40 or 50 years ago. He hasn't walked. And I take it upon myself to take care of him, whether it's
Oh.
check on his trash that needs to be brought out or taken back in. We got some snow last week. After I did my driveway, I went down to see if he needed help, and his wife was out shoveling. And I came down with my snowblower. I got like a snowblower that like it's like the BDE snowblower, you know what I mean? It's just like
No, but
like
okay.
like big dick energy snowblower, like it's
Oh, I've
fucking
never heard
huge.
that term.
BDE, big dick energy. Yeah, it's
I don't
like
think I could use it myself, but I never heard that. Thank you
yeah,
for that.
yeah.
Okay.
It's it's like it's just a beast. And I roll down there and we clean it up for him and so on and so forth. But anyways, I see him every day. I walk my dog, Penelope, and he pulled me aside and he's like going off about Russia and Ukraine. And I'm listening and I'm listening, and I made one comment to him. I said, Ed, do you watch the news? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, bro, that's the problem. He's like, no, 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 you don't understand. I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand. I canceled my cable a decade ago. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna go off on that tangent about why or why not you should have the news, but fundamentally it's programming. And
Totally.
what you're talking about is programming.
Yep.
And I believe that the elites in the world, along with governments,
Yep.
uh, definitely know that the brain is far more capable than what we are programmed to believe, of 10% max, and want us to remain average. And
100%.
an average person will trip, fall, and not get back up or crawl out of the holes that they've been in, because the resilience and persistence really is kind of not programmed, to say the
Yes.
least. And what it sounds like is your journey has been extraordinarily eventful, to put lack of better terms on it. But you're almost have become, if not have become, like the ray of light for individuals that are ready to see it. In your case, I don't know if you are a ray of light for women and empowering them. However, I would imagine you very much are.
Mhm. Yes. Yes. I'm really super, that's a big part of who I serve. Yeah. But, would you like me to say something?
Oh, I think
Okay.
you should speak on everything.
Yeah. So basically, in terms of women, I have a group of women that I do a video every day. It's under 5 minutes, and I've been doing it for over a year, maybe like, I don't know, 18 months or something, 365 days a year, Christmas too. 5 a.m. it drops in their group, and it's designed to rewire their brain away from people pleasing, can't say no, body image, time management, discipline, every single thing you could imagine, creating your life. And it's all about, the thing where we do the shift away from the core beliefs that we have, the limiting beliefs, and we create the thoughts that would create our life. And the big message, and I think that is being hidden from us, or we're kind of being lulled to sleep, is that we are the creators. And we are constantly, even in this moment, building our life. And every second that we're alive, the way we're thinking, the way we're feeling, what we're doing, who we're communicating with, is building something, because our brain is always morphing. And, babies, we're born with 100 billion neurons. And by the time we're because it's different, between 2 and 7 years old, we have 1.5 quadrillion synaptic connections, which are the connections made by the meaning we've attached to things. Or, and babies, are consistently creating meaning, because that's what our brain needs to do that. So, and it can be misinterpreted meaning, but then we end up following that system that's been laid down. And anyone who says that television or an environment, it is the biggest creator of our programming, of our system. So what I'm positive, I know that, my mantra is be awake and aware in the now, without judgment, and in a state of peace. Because being awakened and then aware of, not allowing that thought to slip past you without, in the now, in the moment that you're in, seeing it. So like, for example, when I start to see, and I was saying that in the book, like, oh, why me? Why did this happen to me? This must be me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'm that girl who doesn't get the pretty bedroom or the great guy or whatever it is that I don't get. I have to see it, because the truth always is the path to all freedom.
Visualize. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see, okay, oh, that thought that's there. Mm-hmm. And because immediately it's an electrical impulse. And also we become addicted to the feelings that we feel the most, or the feelings that we have felt the most. So if you're aware of, I always ask people, what have you felt the most in your childhood? And we go into withdrawal when we don't. So when I see when people start to get better, it's the same thing with anything. I mean, we know this, like in terms of entrepreneurship, how come you can get so far and then you slink back? Our body requires homeostasis, a baseline. And when you deviate from what it's accustomed to, it's going to pull you back. It's going to tell you, come back. Families also have a homeostasis. They have scripts that they share with one another. Businesses have scripts that they share. And if you don't stay within your script, you're going to get pulled back to it. So you have, as long as you're aware, awake and aware in the present moment, then you can shift away from all of those scripts that we have running, right?
Yeah.
It's actually super simple,
but
it feels hard.
Especially in the beginning.
In the beginning, yes.
Especially.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a live example?
Sure.
It's
you'd like me to give you a live example?
Yeah. Well, no. Like, can I ask you of a live example, and you could talk us through the situation?
Yeah. You mean you want to tell me the live example?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. I love that shit.
So
I thought you wanted to make one up.
Oh no, I don't
want to do that. Yeah,
this is a live example. I had this
Mm-hmm.
conversation this morning, actually. Okay. Now, what you're teaching, what you're explaining, and what you're teaching is exactly what I teach, just articulated probably a little bit more layman's when it comes to my explanation, because I don't have the depth of knowledge with the synapses and the way that the mind actually works. So
you don't need it.
The technicalities. So let's say a female, a girl, a woman is continually making the same mistakes when it comes to her job performance. She's coached extensively on how to deal with the mistakes and the problems, recognizing them, owning them, putting an action plan in place to not make the same mistake. However, the same mistakes continue to happen. What would you recommend? Well, before I ask the question, when it comes to making mistakes, I teach basically a very simple process, which you read about, is step aside from the mistake, recognize the mistake, take responsibility for the mistake, put action plan in place, never make mistake again. To me, it seems simple, but to others, it might not. With this situation that I'm explaining, what would you recommend?
I have a couple of questions first
Please.
before I make any
Sure,
recommendations.
sure.
Okay, so it is it a mistake based in their this is a pattern. It's not just mistakes. So like, and
Correct.
I think you said that also in the book. I mean,
Yep.
we love patterns.
Yeah.
I love patterns because once you see a
Oh, yeah.
pattern,
Yep.
you know that there's something, there's something running it, that
Yes.
if you keep trying not to do a thing and it keeps happening, then it's important to to know what is actually the fuel behind this driving force. So
Correct.
the important thing is to know, one is it behavior, or is it like, can you tell me what it is that they're doing, what the mistake is, or no?
Yeah. So in
Mhm.
this case, it's someone who's consistently dropping the ball on deadlines and projects for those deadlines, regardless of laissez-faire management, micromanagement, reminders. It's just a constant dropping of the ball on projects.
Okay, so the dropping of the ball, does it seem related to that something that's time management, forgetfulness? Like what is it? What does it seem like it is?
Definitely time management, organization, and forgetfulness.
Okay, and in terms of who they are, like emotionally, and like what about like their who they are and their work ethic?
Fantastic work ethic, overly loyal, doesn't
Got it.
do anything um maliciously, or like the mistakes or the pattern in this case is out of I don't know what the proper term is, but it's definitely not being intended to be done
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And that's the tricky part, especially when it comes to employment.
And what do they say after the mistake? Is it
um they recognize it, they do own it.
what do they feel?
um Probably, I would speculate on this one, but probably embarrassment.
Does it seem that way?
Yeah.
So there's a few things. I have like business advice and then like
Please.
psychological advice. So
Yeah.
when we see a pattern, like if I see a pattern where someone is repeatedly experiencing emotionally the same thing, then there's something drawing them back to feeling ashamed, embarrassed, whatever it is that they're repeatedly disorganized, feeling bad about themselves. I'd love to know what they're telling themselves, experiencing this interaction with you that may be very similar to something that they're trying to recreate in order to fix.
Yep.
So we recreate patterns and relationships from our childhood or things that have hurt us because they're buried alive. So the memory, like let's say she was always letting down a father.
Deep subconscious programming.
Oh yeah. So basically the key to it is knowing that that's it. So that's one part. The other thing I think, and I don't know if you're asking me this, but I think that a lot of leaders, employers spend 80% of their time with and focusing on employees that are producing 20% or something like that. So I think that it is very, very important to, I believe in coaching people out of things, but there's a point where something needs to change. So to me, we've done stuff like this. So what I always tell the person who like runs my business, I say, okay, we zoom out. We just zoom out because we get too emotionally involved. So zoom out and look at what are the facts.
Step aside from it. Yeah.
Yes. So now, what is this person saying to me? What is the message that they're telling me? And so like what I will look at is I'll say, the message is that, so maybe not with them, but like, let's say the message is someone who's just can't see a certain amount of clients. So the message is you really only want, this is not with your person, but you really only want to work part-time because that's what you're doing. You're working part-time. People do what they want to do, right? So, or they're programmed into it and not seeing it and not shifting away from it. I think with your business, you have a business that is the value system is this. It's this. It's being able to so you want to have people who are able to stop, look, not let the thing slip past them. So you can apply, and I have so much to say. So basically, if we focus on the behavior, it's not going to, we can't fix this with behavior. Like, applying planning tips and time blocking and all the things we do to strategize, to be more organized and manage our time. That's fine. They're good. But it's kind of like, having, it's just going to spit out the same result if the inner world is not reordered. Right. So I do think that, and this isn't really not your job, but I mean, I think it's valuable to say it. What have you done so far?
Me personally?
Yeah, with them.
Everything. They're including the time blocking and scheduling and top 5 and so on and so forth. And the first question was, let me see your top 5 from last week. And there wasn't even a top 5 from last week, which means the applicable skills that are being taught aren't even being utilized. So when it comes to the application of the skills and not being utilized, that's when I know that it's the depth of in my opinion, not facing the scary things within us to understand where these sorts of turmoil or traumatic events have been rooted from, to correct them on the emotional or spiritual level, depending on what is the proper term for it. And what I've learned as an employer of about a decade is you can't force people to do it.
No,
you just got to let them do it on their own.
Yes. So the thing is, in terms of like your business, so like what we'll do is we'll say, like, okay, first of all, this is not like, it's not, so this is really the best thing for them, is for them to say, like, this is your job, these are the things that I need, and you're not able to do that right now. So I always present, I don't do it anymore, other people do it for me, but I always present like, oh, hey, so given this is the position and this isn't happening, what is your perspective on it? Like, what do you think is happening here? Because I know that, they're not working at the job that they're being paid for.
Yep.
Right. So but the thing is that I don't think it's doing them a favor.
It's not.
Yeah. I mean, to me, so there's different levels. To me, it's like, oh, as a friend to the person, it's like, what is it that keeps, what is it to me? What is she or he addicted to? Sure. They're addicted to feeling like shit, failing, I don't know, whatever those things are, feeling in trouble. And if they don't know that, it's not going to change.
Yeah. 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 And on a professional level, basically the approach that I take in these types of situations that are ongoing patterns that require basically a soul searching to be done to a great degree, is I just basically tell them, and trust me, I implemented exactly what you recommended on the professional level. But well, listen, I understand, and there's nothing I could do more for you. So you just have to know that the seat of the bus that you're on is the seat that it will stay. There won't be advancement until you advance. Mm-hmm. And that's just what it comes down to, because as a employer, you have to really like hash out, is this performance based or is this lack of your ability to coach someone? And fundamentally, if you get to the point to where you can look yourself in the mirror as the employer and be like, I've done everything to coach this person, it's on them. You either have to decide if you're going to get rid of them or weather the storm. And if they're an investment, which I look at staff to be an investment, not an expense, and they do things out of their sheer...
We do make poor investments, though.
Yes, we do. If they do things out of their sheer like trauma that they just haven't been able to heal yet because they haven't faced it, and they're still a prominent person on the team, they'll just have to accept that the seat that they're in will never advance.
You know what I wonder though, also, it's an interesting thing because it depends on like also what our mission is. So like if the mission is the development of the people, that work for you because you're creating like this cellular growth, which, I do. But there's also I think that when we're describing a person in this situation, one of the things we measure is will be like, how much time have we spent talking about this person, working on this, like, even with clients, I'm like, I will roll up my sleeves. I'll work as hard as they will, but I won't work harder. So it's when you find yourself that then the rest of the team, is not getting very often the difficult or the problem employees get most of our time. John Maxwell talks about that, that he always did that forever.
Yep.
If I didn't hear that from him, I would continue to do it. But
Yep.
basically, we need to spend 80% of our time with, with 20% of the people, basically the people who are loyal, the people who are, and that's where we invest our time. But I get the other part.
Yeah.
But really, I don't know. I think that there's so much to that right there. I could tear that apart.
I know you can. That's why I asked you.
Yeah. I don't want to keep going because I know, they're not going to listen to this, are they?
No. But even if they did, it would be good. It would be good.
Yeah, I got it.
But, fundamentally as entrepreneurs, right? Like we deal with a lot, and
we do.
And it's a very selfless profession. It's an extraordinarily selfless profession. To the point that over the past several years, specifically, as I got into my second decade, right? As I got into my second decade as an entrepreneur, I started checking myself like, Chris, are you being selfish? Oh, that decision would be, what can I do better to be selfless? Go back and do that. That's the selfless decision. And I wouldn't, no one would describe me that knows me as selfish, not in the past 15, 20 years, 15 years before that, definitely as a child, right? But the point that I'm getting at is entrepreneurship is incredibly selfless, and entrepreneurship is incredibly fulfilling as well. And watching people turn the corner from putting that time into them, whether it's a client or staff, and achieving what they have come to you with is incredible, in my opinion, and is also the reason why I do things. It's just fulfillment. But maybe you can shed some light on your journey of 3 decades and maybe some pain points or things you do differently.
Oh yeah. I think so much of it has to do also with, hiring and who works for you. So I began as I worked a couple of places, but I knew I was going to have a private practice. And basically what I did was, and I believe that anybody who's listening who is, wants to do a startup or whatever, it's all mindset. Everything is mindset. So I opened an office before I had a client. And basically what I did was I went to a
back
realtor.
Against the wall.
Yeah, that was it. Now I was having one and I decided it was a power move. I decided I lay hold of my vision, and obstacles have they have to bow down to me. So, so basically, I went to a realtor and I said, I need a freestanding office space with two offices, a waiting room and a bathroom. And I only want to pay $400 a month. The guy's like, you are crazy. I'm like, I know. Could you just look for me? He's like, I'll never find that. I said, you will. You'll find it. So he called me like 3 days later. He's like, I cannot believe that I found this. And he found it. It's such an unbelievable story. So it was exactly what I wanted. Exactly. And the funny thing about it is that the building that I'm sitting in right now that I own is that little building that I had was right behind, I don't even know where I am, right behind this building. and it was at a train station, and it's torn down. But that was where I started, and I just believed, and it was all word of mouth, and it just kept building. And I think the pain points for me were making mistakes in who I hired, hiring friends.
Yep.
That was like a very bad mistake, huge mistake. And you know,
you
and
lose your
being hurt.
friendships.
Yes. Yeah. And just being like experiencing, like, it's funny, you wouldn't think, but at work, you know, experiencing kind of like a little betrayal, like people like taking clients, or, you know, things like that you don't expect to happen. But what we have learned, and I think it's really cool, we have learned just as a team, the greatest thing. So we've learned that whenever a problem shows up, it's a gift. So it's the same thing that I learned in my life. You know, you just, you know, what your value system, what you learn in your life, how you personally develop, translates into your business. So I think that it's very important, like that woman or whoever you're describing, their personal development is not happening. That is why their other development is not happening. It's just simple, right?
It is very
simple. So we try to hire people that we know are personally developing and have issues that they've overcome, and you know, and I'm sure you do this too. We have core values, and one of them is we live in the solution, not the problem. So everybody who works for me, yes, if I tell them, if you bring me a problem, bring 3 solutions with it, or don't bring it. Even if we don't use the solution, come to me with what you think would work. So even that person that you're describing, they're having this problem. So instead of giving them the solution, I would say, what would the solution be? What do you think is the thing that's something's creating this? Yeah. So basically that, you know, we do that. And the important thing, I think, you know, is really we hire and fire around our core values. So either they, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like, it's almost like it's taken on a life of its own. The organism is alive, and it like, you know, Andy Frisella says, like, it just spits the person right out. They just don't fit because everybody's operating with this value system.
Correct.
And, you know, and I think one of the most important things for me is that I have a hell of a lot of fun at work. I laugh. They call me Michael Scott at work. So,
okay, office.
Really? No, am I kidding? So, and like, I think that you want to bring vibrance and life and connectivity, and everybody here works their ass off. I give awards for things, you know, once a month for going the extra mile. Am I answering your question? Or maybe I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, 100%.
Basically what happened was it just kept growing, my private practice, word of mouth. And then I decided I'm just going to hire people. So I did. And then now we have like art therapists, psychiatric nurse practitioners. And then I thought I liked McDonald's plan, where they're not just a franchise, they're a real estate holding company. So what I do is I purchase the property and then Logger Counseling Services rents from the property that I purchased. So basically we have, you know, and then we have it systematized so that we can just duplicate it.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's like the obvious, which I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but basically it's, you know, that. And there's been I can tell you, when my husband died, that's one of the things I can tell you about an unbelievable team. When he died, I have never in my life ever seen anything like it. This team of people, what they did, they ran this business without me for 5 months.
Wow.
Like warriors,
wow.
Like unbelievable. And the people that I tell everybody who I hire, that whatever you want to be here, be it. Don't ask for it. Don't wait for it. Do the job before you're paid for it, and you'll get it. Humiliate me. And basically the woman who runs my business started as a receptionist here.
I remember you told me that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I
And
told you
your
about it.
tribe took care of you. And I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just saying
No, no, do it.
your tribe took care of you, huh?
Like you have no idea. Like they immediately called a meeting. They all were like, okay, who's going to take out the garbage? Who's going to make sure this? Because my husband also did all the construction on the buildings and he ran the place and they were all close to him. So it was like this bomb went off everywhere. Plus, I'm a therapist. We save people's lives. I mean, we don't save their lives. We help them to not
Sure.
commit suicide. So now it's humiliating. I didn't feel humiliated, but it's just like, what the fuck? Like it just, every part of my life blew up. So it was like, and they just had my back. My clients, the way they, just the love was just incredible. And just to me, I wouldn't have known that. And it forced me to know that I don't have to work in my business, that I can leave. That and it strengthened all of their muscles. Like never underestimate the power of your absence ever. When you're not there, the resilience. So like, and also there's so much, I'm saying so much, but basically it's like, I keep thinking about that person over there at your place. And I'm thinking like, they have an opportunity right now to grow into something that your absence will allow them to grow into. Mm-hmm. But sometimes our love and our compassion, our selflessness it's not necessarily selfless. And I don't mean you are selfless. I'm not talking about you, but it's like, I can give so much that it's really, I want it from me. I want them to get better from me. You know what I mean? And, I have done it with my kids. Like I can't stand their pain. So I'm doing everything to try to help them not have their pain through teaching them, but never tell somebody something that they need to tell themselves ever. And I've learned that with my children.
The way that I always bring it out of them is, what do you think the answer is?
Yes, 100%.
I say that more than I give answers. I give answers less than 10% of the time. 90% of the time, I force the individual to think. I get the gears to spin. And if the gears don't spin to the point to the answer, then you know exactly what I teach to bring that out.
Yes.
We need to do a part 2. Okay. Definitely need to do
because I talk so damn much.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, yes and no, but this is great. This is fantastic energy. Your journey is powerful, to say the least. There's so much I want to touch on. Maybe if you would be open to it, you could come back on maybe
I would love to
next quarter or this quarter. And you tell us more about your journey and the book that you've done.
Oh, yeah.
Which isn't out yet, correct?
No, it's not out, but it will be soon. It's almost done. I mean, it's done, but not done. I need a forward. I should have you write my forward.
I mean, listen, if you seriously want it, I'd be grateful to. Yes, but you do need a forward. You definitely do.
Yes. And I asked, I'm like stuck on that. But anyhow, so yeah, well, and I don't want to keep talking because I know you have to end your show.
Well, why don't you do this? All right. So you've agreed to a second interview. Thank you. And we'll focus on the journey a bit and the book that disappeared, and then you rewrote.
Yes.
And are done with.
Yes.
Actually, that was one of our first conversations, I believe. I said, what the fuck are you doing? I said, rewrite. What did I say? I write that shit?
Well, basically, I didn't know you. And I'm like, yeah, well, and I told you like my Wawa story. Yeah, I wrote it and then I lost it. And then my husband died. And I'm like, yeah, so, I didn't write it. And you write the fucking book. It's what you wrote.
Yeah, that's me.
Like, yes, sir. I'm doing it right now. So that was great. That warrior shit you did.
I was like, there's always got to be that person in our life.
Yes.
Right? For even for me, but all of us. But the point is, I really want to talk more about it, and we will, because maybe at that point it will either be on its way out or out. So before we end, I'm going to ask you to give everyone a piece of advice, maybe the piece of advice that was most pivotal, if I could speak here, pivotal in your career or your life or something that would help someone along. Maybe they're going through a tough time and need a little bit of light. If you can put that into one explanation, you think you might be able to offer us some advice?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, but
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I live my life on is that there's always a solution. And even if you don't see it, you just haven't found it yet. And that our if our if you look at the life and the results of your life, whatever it is, financial, spiritually, emotionally, whatever, relationally, look at your bank account, whatever it is, that tells you the story of what you believe. So if you see things that you don't like or things that you want differently, that you have, no matter what, I don't care who you are, doesn't matter who you are, you have the power to change it. And that it's really important to live from an internal locus of control as opposed to an external locus of control, reading the outside to determine what you are on the inside. So you want to dictate from the inside and create your life. So is that clear enough? Or
The answers are within, and you're in control of your thoughts in life. Yeah, definitely.
your entire destiny, you're right now in this moment creating your life. And no matter how painful it is in this moment, no matter what, you have the power within you to change it. And even if you're just feel it, even the despair, remember it's chemical right now, like depression, tragedy, grief, it's chemical right now. And all you have to do is hold on. And if you just even say the words, like in your book, Chris, you talk about the affirmations, the shifting of even a sentence that shifts you away from a previous rewritten sentence in your brain. If you shift away from it, it's firing in another way that's building up a different life for you. And if you just keep doing it, it accumulates, and there's always hope.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Always hope. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's all how we decide to perceive it and look at it.
Meditate also.
Yes,
meditate.
Seriously. Please. I wish more people would. Okay.
It's keeping us from meditating.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
because they make it like it's woo-woo.
I had a great meditation today.
Me too.
How long did you meditate for?
It was like 20 minutes, which I could meditate for like a long time.
Yeah, about 15 for me today. Yeah.
But it was good.
Oh yeah, I connected right to higher self. I was like, it was crazy. Okay, I think that was an excellent first episode. Guys, if you want to get to hold of Allison, I think it would be important that she tells us how. Allison, how would we get a hold of you if we want?
I don't even know how the hell to get a hold of myself.
Do you have a Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, I do. I have Facebook is Allison with 1L, Logger, LCSW, CASAC. And then there's Allison Answers is my podcast, Mission Awake, and Logger Counseling Services. If you just Google that, Logger like the beer, you just Google that, you can find me. And and I have Logger Counseling Services Instagram, and that's it. I need one-stop shop. You have that, but I kind of have it.
I like to stream basically everything from my website, right?
But mine's my business. I would need another one for Allison Answers.
You need a personal brand.
I do, Chris. You can tell me how to do that. Allison Answers.
I'm happy to help. I mean, but I think you're doing great things. And thank you for gracing us with your presence and giving us your time. And I look forward to our next conversation.
I just want to tell you, thank you so much for having me, because it really is an honor to be here. Everything that you stand for is really everything that I believe in. And I think, and I felt so much like I was preaching to the choir and like trying to act tough when you're tougher than me. But anyhow, I think you're great. And I appreciate you. Thank you.
Of course, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and you will catch us next time.